You saw this today in the Mornington Peninsula. The double standard that was one day after those protesters were, of course, all over Victoria, tens of thousands of them, no socially distancing. Apparently wokeness is the ultimate vaccine to this virus. Well, you saw in the Australian newspaper today and multiple times here on Sky News. Police, they couldn't break up a protest, but by God, they can break up people fishing. Because if you dare fish in this time of COVID, you will spread the virus, despite the fact that you're outside and despite the fact that they were all spaced out way more than any one of those protests. What does Chairman Dan say about this double standard? Well, of course, nothing.
It's simply not practical to be issuing thousands and thousands of fines or potentially locking up thousands and thousands of people. I'm pleased that it was peaceful. I'm not pleased that it happened. Worthy cause, but a fundamentally irresponsible thing to do.
So, if you would like to overpower the Victorian government, just have more of you than members of the Victorian government to police their own laws. What insanity. Now, you mightn't be able to send a fine to everyone, but there would be plenty of people who still have on their social media profiles that they were at the protest, visible evidence that they weren't doing the social distancing. Remember, every parent got a fine, and rightly so, when they went to a birthday party in the middle of the pandemic. Victorians are so keen to dob on social distancing that at the height of the pandemic in Easter, there was 11,500 calls a day coming to the police. There were so many calls that, yes, the Australian Defence Force was used to answer calls from people dobbing. As for the double standard and about how premiers feel about protests being okay, and they're okay because they're not fining anyone, versus people fishing or, God forbid, having more than 30 or 40 people at a funeral. Here's a slab of the people leading our country down a cul-de-sac.
Protesting is an inherent right in our democracy. I never want us to be in a situation where we take away people's democratic right to do that. There is no excuse for anybody, any organisation, anybody thinking they're above the health orders. The New South Wales government never would and never will support any activity which breaches the health orders. And as soon as that was brought to the government's attention, we took swift action by going to the Supreme Court.
I was very clear that people should not attend that protest. It didn't just happen in Queensland, it happened in New South Wales. I think there were larger crowds in New South Wales, and of course there were big crowds in Melbourne as well. This happened right across the nation, and it happened right across the world.
What is wrong with that woman? Like, we can't police a crime that happens here, or at least a contravention of the COVID rules, because there's too many people and it happened everywhere else. Honestly, these are the people who have been elevated to co-running the country. What is wrong with these people? Why are they so addicted to the power of deciding what side of the street you can walk on? To prove that point, later this week, I'm going to go to one of these borders and I'm going to show you the very blockades that are there, stopping you from crossing from one side of an Australian street to another. The fine, if you do so, by the way, is $13,000. The total amount of fines for the people who organise these things, including the Australian Socialist Party, is $1,600. So the way to overpower the government is to have more people than are there to police you. What a disgraceful message to send. To Extinction Rebellion or any other future protest or any other rioter, this stuff is dangerous. The double standard has sent people crazy. They will not cop it anymore. Now, I haven't done this for a few days, but this is worth showing you about why the borders need to open and the restrictions need to go. This is how many people are in hospital right now with coronavirus. 19. The vast majority of those that are the active cases, they're currently in hotels after testing positive from coming home from overseas. There's 9 people in New South Wales, 2 in Queensland, 7 in the entire state of Victoria. But God forbid you want to drop a line into the Mornington Peninsula. You must move on. But if you've got a few thousand mates whipped up into a frenzy of wokeness, you're fine. Keep going.